Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It was good for Paul and Silas. It was good for Paul and Silas. It was good for Paul and Silas. It's good enough for me. Give me that.
When someone asks me what I want for Christmas this year, I'm going to say, give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. The complete origins of this traditional hymn are unknown. Scholars have put together bits and pieces over the years. They agree it comes out of the tradition of African-American spirituals of the 19th century. The melody, however, is thought to be very old, to come from an Old English folk tune. It was first published in a hymnal in 1891 by Charles Daniel Tillman. He's considered the great publicizer of country gospel or Southern gospel, where the African-American spiritual musical tradition and the country music or mountain music spiritual traditions met. He was a sheet music publisher. He heard it sung at a Black church tent revival in South Carolina and wrote it down. His published version is a bit different from the one we just heard. As a traditional hymn, there have been a lot of variations with different lyrics added over the years, sometimes spontaneously by the singers. It's been recorded by Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Willie Nelson, Mahalia Jackson, Pete Seeger, the Five Blind Boys of Alabama, Johnny Cash, and many others, each adding their own turn, their own spin to it. The recording that we just heard, which is much like the ones I heard growing up in the Southern Baptist Church, is from a compilation called The History of Black Gospel, and it's sung by Professor Johnson. That's all the name they give. Dolly Parton's version has a verse, makes me love everybody. It's good enough for me. This hymn is so familiar, so simple in structure. It has a joyous rhythm, but the faith that it celebrates is a difficult one. In the most painful times, those times when we feel like we might not make it, this hymn is comforting, exactly because it sings of the hard parts of our faith, even as it moves us to clap and sway. There's a verse, it's good when you're in trouble. It's good enough for me. These lyrics resonated for me with events over the last 2 years. And I took great comfort in a lot of what this song is actually about. During the confinement of the pandemic shutdown, the Black Lives Matter protests erupting everywhere, people all over the world standing against powerful authorities. It's good enough for me. It was good for Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas, you'll recall, were incarcerated, imprisoned with their feet in stocks. They sang the Lord's hymns. It was good for Paul and Silas. It's good enough for me. It was good for the Hebrew children. Now, the 3 Hebrew children did not start out as rebels or protesters. They went along, working for King Nebuchadnezzar, working within the existing power structure, like you do. When he changed their names, because they were a little too ethnic, he wanted something a little more assimilated, they went along with it, rolled with it, going along to get along. But when he commanded them to worship his image made of gold, they drew the line and said, no, that's enough going along. So boss man Nebuchadnezzar had them thrown into the fiery furnace. And when the fire did not destroy them, when they came out the other side, even King Nebuchadnezzar had to step back and say, whoa, there is a power greater than a ruthless man's gold can command. It was good for the Hebrew children. It's good enough for me. It was good for our mothers, all our mothers, from Mary, pregnant and homeless, looking for a place to stay, Rachel, weeping for her children because they had been destroyed, back to Esther and Miriam and Ruth, go all the way back. Lucy, whose mitochondrial DNA we all share. It was good for our mothers, that old time religion. Go back as far as you want. God said, let there be light. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me.